I'm talking about that right now. Oh my gosh. Hello everyone, I am Corinne, also known as the Discerning Reader, and today I'm bringing you the Studio Ghibli tag. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while, and I found a tag that someone else had created, but I don't want to use it for two reasons, because they didn't include any of the more recent films from Studio Ghibli. Also, some of the associations between the movies and the books were not how I personally feel about these films. I'm going to create my own tag. So what I did is I have 15 Studio Ghibli movies that I'm going to show you, and for each one I'm going to make a book recommendation based on what I liked best about that movie. They're in no particular order, but I am doing, like, the second half of this is going to be like the movies I like best out of all the Studio Ghibli films. Let's go ahead and start off with the first movie, which is Ponyo. Now Ponyo is Miyazaki's adaptation of Little Mermaid. What I liked best about this film was the art. This is a beautiful story. This is beautiful story told in beautiful rendered scenes. The underwater scenes are just gorgeous and particular. I love it. So for this movie, I am going to go with the best illustrations or artwork in a book. So for this movie, I'm going to go ahead and recommend Smile by Raina Telgemeier. This is a graphic novel, a memoir about her time when she was in middle school and high school, so spanning the years of those, when she had an accident and knocked out her two front teeth. And then the following 4 years when she had a bunch of different experimental procedures to try and fix her teeth. And it's really beautiful, and the illustrations are really great. They're all full color illustrations, and I really recommend it. And if you're looking for a good graphic novel to read, especially one about a girl who finds the courage to just accept herself for who she is, then Smile is a great one to pick up. The next movie on my list is The Secret World of Arrietty. This is another movie based off a book. I haven't read it yet. I should read it though, shouldn't I? But it's about Arrietty, who is a tiny little person. Like when I was little, there was this cartoon called The Littles about little tiny people who lived in a big person's house. This is kind of like that. This movie is about Arrietty, and she accidentally reveals herself to Sean. Sean is like, yeah, I won't ever tell anyone. But then the housekeeper is nosy and finds out that Sean has been hiding these little people. Their secret and forbidden friendship blossoms into an extraordinary adventure. I don't think I'm doing a very good job explaining this movie. But the thing I liked best about this movie was the ending. It was very bittersweet. It wasn't what I was expecting at all. It threw me completely for a loop. And then once I went back and thought about it a little bit, I was like, yeah, that ending was really amazing, you know? It was just like the perfect ending. So for this one, I'm choosing a bittersweet ending that also felt like the perfect way to wrap up the story. My Brother's Husband, Volume 2. This is a 2-volume graphic novel duology, translated from the Japanese, about a man named Yaichi. And he is a single father raising his little daughter, Kana, and he has a twin brother he's estranged from. And his twin brother was gay and moved to Canada and married another man. And then his twin brother dies, and one day he finds that this man, Mike Flanagan, has come from Canada to see his dead husband's family and to get to know them and to see where his dead husband grew up and to fulfill a promise he made. He basically spends a good portion of the story coming to terms with the fact that he has a gay brother-in-law and coming to terms with his own prejudices against gay people. And he comes to realize that the gender of the person you're attracted to shouldn't change how people treat you. And he also thinks about things like, what if his daughter turns out to be a lesbian? At the end of this story, Mike is getting ready to go back to Canada, and because he just came here for a short vacation. Like, you'd expect kind of this story to be, like, if you see this sort of story, you might expect it to be like, you know, the dead brother's husband falls in love with his brother's twin or whatever. But it didn't do that at all. Mike goes back to Canada, and it's very sad, but they promise to meet again, so there's like the bittersweet ending, and this was just the perfect ending to wrap up this story. I love it so much. This is just such a cute story, and I really recommend it if you're looking for a good book about LGBTQ representation. The next movie on my list is My Neighbors the Yamadas. This is a movie about the Yamada family. So you have the mother, the father, the two children, and their grandmother who all live together. And this is just a really cute slice of life movie about various things that happen. Like the father tries to bond with his son unsuccessfully. We see some of the son starts having a crush on a girl at school, and it's just random things that happen in their life, and it's super cute, and it's adorable, and it's just like a really nice, feel-good slice of life story. And so for this one, my favorite part was like that slice of life, easygoing. Like you could just watch it at any time, and it's cute and it's heartwarming. So for this movie, I'm going with your favorite slice of life story, and for that one, I definitely have to recommend With the Light by Keiko Tobe. This is a manga about a family, Sachiko Azuma, her husband Masato, and their son Hikaru, who has autism. And basically it's a story about Sachiko raising Hikaru and accepting his autism and making a place for him in the world, and it's just really beautiful. I love it so much, and it's my favorite thing ever. And I really love the autism representation in this. As an autistic person myself, I thought it was really well done. The most important thing about representation is that the autistic person has to be their own person. They have to have their own interests. They have to be something in the story besides just being the autistic person. The autism can't be presented as like a problem for their family. It's just like, oh, we have an autistic child, but otherwise, you know, we have other problems besides our child being autistic. You know, the autism isn't really a problem for us. We take it in stride. And this was really great, and I love it so much, and I can't recommend this story enough. And it's really beautiful, and it's really cute, and it's just a really feel-good story that you could read at any time. The next movie on my list is Castle in the Sky. This is, basically it's about a girl named Shita, and she's kidnapped by the government because they want to get her necklace, which is a magical artifact that might lead them to the legendary city of Laputa. And she meets up with this boy Patsu, and so basically they team up to try and escape, and they end up teaming up with a bunch of pirates to get away. I'm not doing a very good job explaining these movies, am I? Basically they team up to escape the government and find the legendary city of Laputa, which is apparently a giant castle in the sky, which no one has ever seen before. Hence the title, Castle in the Sky. So for this movie, my favorite part of it was the friendship between Patsu and Shita. Was just such a cute friendship, and it was so fun seeing them like team up and do anything for each other and face death for the sake of the other person, and it was awesome. So for this one, I'm going with your favorite friendship in a book, and for that one, I have to go with Roland and Talia from Arrows of the Queen. If there is an unlikely friendship, more unlikely friendship out there, I'd like you to show it to me. This book is about Talia, who's an orphan girl living with her relatives. When she's 13, her mother, her foster mother, essentially, is like, you're going to be married. And Talia's like, no, I don't want to be married. I want to be a herald and serve the queen. And so she runs away and meets up with Roland, which is a herald's companion. And she doesn't really know much about heralds or how they're chosen, so she thinks that Roland has just run away from his owner, and she has to go back to the Collegium to return him to his rightful owner. And so this whole time she's going on this journey and is like, I'm gonna be parted from Roland eventually. And then she gets to the castle and she meets the queen, and she's like, so this is Roland, and I guess you need to take him back now. And the queen's like, are you silly? You're my herald now. And so it's just this awesome adventure of her becoming queen's own and finding a place of her own in the world and serving her queen. And Roland and Talia are so cute together, and it's awesome. Next movie on my list is one that's kind of gritty. It's Princess Mononoke. This is a movie about the warrior Ashitaka, who is prince to the indigenous people. He's inflicted with a deadly curse, and so he sets out on a quest to find the forest spirit and get the curse lifted from him. And this was a really fun story. It was really gritty and dark, and it covered some really, really dark themes. So for this one, I'm going with your favorite gritty or dark book that covers some really like deep, serious topics. And for that one, I'm going to go ahead and recommend the Sanoichiro series by Laura Jo Rowland. This is book 1 in the series, Shinju. So this book is a historical thriller set in feudal Japan about Sanoichiro, who goes from just like a regular police officer to the shogun's most honorable investigator of people and events. And he became basically a samurai detective. And this each novel is basically he solves a different crime. It covers some really serious, deep themes. Like, for example, this one is like he stops a rebellion against the shogun and earns his post. Other books in this series are basically there's one of the shogun's concubines has been murdered and he has to expose the culprit, and it deals with like infidelity and child abuse and child sexual abuse and pretty deep themes. But if you're like super nerdy about Japan like me and you want some gritty, dark Japanese-based literature, definitely pick up this series. It's super good. The next book on my list is one that many people I'm sure are familiar with, and that is Kiki's Delivery Service. This is a movie about 13-year-old Kiki, who is a witch in training, and when you turn 13, if you're a witch, when you turn 13, you have to go away from home for a year and live in a different village and figure out what your witch powers are. So this basically follows Kiki as she moves to a new town away from her family and starts a delivery service, hence the title. And this movie was super cute, and my favorite part about this was just like the whole like concept of witches, and like they have to move away from home to be able to finish their witch training to prove that they are a full-fledged witch. And it was awesome, and it was cute, and it was fun. And so for this one, I'm going with your favorite witchy book. And for that one, I have to recommend Sabriel by Garth Nix. The reason for this is because Sabriel is a very skilled charter mage. And she actually, like Kiki, she actually is sent away from home to a boarding school to become a full-fledged, in this case, mage. And she's also the Abhorsen, who is basically a reverse necromancer. So other necromancers are evil and they raise the dead when they shouldn't. So she has to put the dead to rest and restore peace to the world doing that. So this book is about her coming to terms with her position as Abhorsen, and I love this book. And actually one of my favorite things about this book is the father-daughter relationship. She has a really strong relationship with her father, and it's really awesome, and it's cute, and it's witchy, and it's magical, and I love it. The next one on my list is also a movie that was based off of a book, When Marnie Was There. This is a really pretty movie about Anna, who is a young girl with asthma, who lives in the big city, and she's very sickly, so she's sent away for the summertime to live at her aunt's house in the countryside. And while there, she meets this mysterious girl named Marnie, and no one else seems to know who Marnie is or be able to see her, and so she kind of spends the movie unraveling the mystery of Marnie. She's a very quiet loner type person who doesn't think she wants friends, and then Marnie shows her that like friendship is like this beautiful thing that makes your life better, and teaches her how to make friends essentially, so that she can go back and make real friends. And it's really great. And my favorite part about this movie was that all this time it's building up to like this huge like plot twist of like who Marnie is and stuff, and like it's dropping these little hints. At one point, even though no one else can see Marnie, Marnie says she can't go very far from the mansion, so you think that she's like a ghost or something. And then there's another character who actually seems to know about Marnie and has like actual like knowledge about her. And so it's like this whole plot twist, and at the end you get this huge plot twist that's been revealed this whole time, and it's amazing, and the reveal was handled so well, and it just like made everything feel even more complete, and it made it feel like a really great movie. People kind of like rip on this movie for the supposed twist about like Anna being a foster child, but that was kind of like obvious from the beginning, and that's not really supposed to be the huge twist. The huge twist is at the very end when we find out who Marnie really is and what her connection with Anna is. And it's cute and it's adorable and I love it. And for this one, I'm going with your favorite plot twist in a book. And for that one, I'm definitely going to go with Ginny Moon by Benjamin Ludwig. So this book is about 13-year-old Ginny Moon, who is also a foster child, and she has autism. And again, great autism representation in this book. Ginny is a person. She is more than her autism. She does stuff. She has things that happen to her, and it's amazing. But in this book, she is a foster child, and she was taken away from an abusive foster mother, but she wants to go back, abusive birth mother, excuse me, and she wants to go back to her birth mother's house and get her baby doll. And everyone else is like, you can't go back and get your baby doll. Your birth mother was abusive, and if you go back, she's just going to abuse you more. And Ginny's like, no, I need to go get my baby doll. And they're like, we'll just buy you a new baby doll. And she's like, no, my baby doll was alive. And they're like, your birth mother didn't have any other children. So what are you talking about? And she keeps trying to get people to understand what she wants. And she doesn't understand what's actually going on. And then there's a huge plot twist revealed. And it's amazing. And I loved it. And that just kind of like solidified the story in my mind. And was like, oh my god, this story is amazing. 5 stars. I love this book. Next film on my list is one that a lot of people might recognize, and it's another one based off of a book. Howl's Moving Castle. This is a movie about Sophie, a hatter who gets cursed to be an old woman by a witch, and she goes to Howl's Moving Castle, hence the title, and Howl also seems to be sort of under a curse of some kind. So they have to break each other's curses and find out what's going on. And it's really wonderful, and my favorite part about this film was the character Calcifer. And he's like a fire demon who's snarky and funny and like gives good advice to both Howl and Sophie. And so for this one, I'm going with your favorite mythical creature character. So for this one, I'm going with Saphira from Aragon. This is a book about Aragon, a farm boy who finds a dragon egg in the forest. And it hatches, and he becomes a dragon rider, and his dragon is Saphira, who you can see here on the cover. She's a beautiful blue dragon. This entire book is about his uncle was killed by these evil creatures, and so he sets out on a quest to find the evil creatures who killed his uncle. And it's amazing. And my favorite part about this book was Saphira and her snark, and when Aragon says stupid things, she's not afraid of being like, hey, you realize you're being an asshole. Stop it, you're being stupid. And it was funny and hilarious, and I am definitely going to be rereading this book very soon, and I love it. The next movie I don't own the DVD for, but I do own the VHS tape. I still have this VHS tape from when I was like, I don't even know when. I think like I got it when I was like 10 or something. It's about 2 girls named Satsuki and Mei, and their mother is sickly and is in the hospital a lot. And one day they are out exploring and they meet Totoro, this giant gray fuzzy thing, and they go on an adventure with him. So My Neighbor Totoro is just a really good feel-good movie that you can watch as a child and then rewatch as an adult and still love and appreciate. So for this movie, I'm going with your favorite book that you read as a child that like you reread it today and it's still like, oh man, this story's great. And you know, it does have the nostalgia factor, but along with that, it's just a really good story. So for this movie, I'm going with Detectives and Togas. This story doesn't hold up, this book doesn't hold up literally anymore because, you know, it's all beat up. But the story is still really great. This is a middle grade historical fiction story about these boys in, I think it's 11th century or something, Rome. I'm not sure what century it is, and I don't have the back anymore to like see. But their teacher, Xanthippus, one day is a victim of a robbery. And so they have to not only figure out who robbed Xanthippus, but also one of their classmates is accused of writing on a temple wall, which is an offense punishable by death. So they have to figure out who wrote on the temple wall and frame their classmate before their classmate is put to death, essentially. And it's really great, and it's a really fun story, and it's just so much fun following these boys along with their journey of like discovering these various clues and things. And I love this book as a child, and even as an adult when I reread it now, it's still like a really good, solid story. The next movie on my list is the most famous one that Studio Ghibli has ever put out. I'm sure all of you guys will recognize this title, and it is Spirited Away. This is a movie about a 10-year-old girl named Chihiro, and one day her parents are they find an alternate dimension, essentially. And her parents are turned into pigs, and so she has to work for this evil witch named Yubaba and get her parents back to normal. My favorite part about this movie was seeing like the alternate dimension, alternate reality where Chihiro lived, and seeing all the spirits and stuff that lived there. So for this one, I'm going with your favorite parallel dimension / alternate reality book. And for that one, I definitely have to choose Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. This is a book about Meggie and her father Mo, and Meggie is 12. And when she was younger, her father accidentally read aloud from a book, and her mother disappeared into the book. And in her place, out came this evil villain named Capricorn. And Capricorn wants to use Mo's ability to read characters out of books as a way to call forth his evil servant that was in the book with him. And so Meggie and Mo are trying to escape from Capricorn and discover like the mystery behind the powers that Mo has. And it's awesome and it's amazing. It's a whole trilogy, and in the second book they actually go into the book within the book. And I love it, and that's my favorite part about the story, is seeing like the story within the story. Okay, the second last movie on my list is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This is a post-apocalyptic story about a princess named Nausicaa who is the princess for one of the few remaining vestiges of humanity. One day, her kingdom, the Valley of the Wind, is threatened by a neighboring kingdom, Tolmikia, and she has to set out on an adventure to save her kingdom and also prevent humanity from being swallowed up by the toxic jungle. This is a really great movie. I love it so much. It's my second favorite Studio Ghibli film, so if you haven't seen this one already, what are you waiting for? Watch it. But my favorite part about this movie was Nausicaa and her badassery and how she just sort of did what she had to do to get things done. So for this movie, I'm going to say the prompt is your favorite badass princess in fiction. And that have to be what I assume everyone else is also going to choose for this prompt. But I'm going to say Princess Cimarine from the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. This is a 4-book series about Cimarine, and she is born a princess, but she doesn't want to be a princess. So she runs away and becomes the princess for the dragon, Kazul. And so book 1, we see her help Kazul save the dragon kingdom. Book 2, she meets a prince from the Enchanted Forest, hence the name Enchanted Forest Chronicles. Book 3, they have more adventures. I don't really remember what book 3... Oh! Book 3, they have the killer, the donkey. And then book 4 is about Cimarine's son and his adventures. I love Cimarine in this whole series. She's so cool and so badass, and it's so much fun to spend time with her, and I love rereading this series a lot. And definitely pick it up if you're looking for a genre-savvy fantasy. And the final movie on the list is what could be considered... No, what's not even... What is undeniably my favorite Studio Ghibli film of all time, Whisper of the Heart. This is a adorable little cute contemporary romance about Shizuku Tsukishima, who is in middle school, and she is a huge bookworm. She loves to read, but doesn't really have any plans for her future. And in every one of the library books that she checks out, she sees that this other boy has also checked out the book called Seiji Amasawa. And she kind of wonders about him and what kind of person he is. And one day she meets this fellow from her school. He turns out to be Seiji Amasawa. Turns out that he really loves violin making, and he wants to be a professional violin maker. And one day he saw Shizuku at the library and fell in love with her. And so he started checking out all these books in order to get her attention. And I hope I'm not spoiling the movie for you, but it's cute, so cute. And then he inspires Shizuku to become a writer and follow her own dream and write this novel that she feels like is building up inside of her. And that was so cute, and my favorite part of this was seeing Shizuku discover her passion for writing and learning how to be a writer, joys of writing, and it's so cute. And for this movie, the prompt is your favorite book that lights a fire in you. So for example, if you're a lawyer and you know a lot about criminal law, you might choose a true crime book. If you are a theme park nerd, you might choose a book set at a theme park. If you're like me and you are a writer, you might choose a book about a writer, which is what I'm going to do. So for this movie, I'm saying that my favorite book that lights a fire in me is Sorcerers and Secretaries by Amy Kim Ganter. Interestingly, I think probably this is the story of Whisper of the Heart if it had been set in college instead of in middle school. So in this story we follow Nicole, and she loves to write. She has a dream journal where she writes a story about the sorcerer Elion, who sets out on an adventure to save his best friend who has been corrupted by evil. But her mother has always discouraged her from doing writing or fantasy and stuff. So she goes to business school to make her mother proud because her mother runs her own business. And she catches the eye of Josh, who is a kind of a womanizer who works part-time and doesn't really have any ambitions of his own. And then he meets Nicole and decides to get his life together. And so he keeps trying to win over Nicole, and he wants to help her finish her story. And it's just so cute, and it's literally Whisper of the Heart if it were set in college. And I love this so much, and my favorite part of the story was Nicole and seeing her passion for writing and seeing her finally finish her story and decide that this is something she's going to do, and it was adorable. And I love it. Okay, that was the Studio Ghibli Tag. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment below telling me what your favorite Studio Ghibli movie is. If you are watching this, feel free to tag yourself and do it. You can do it on your blog, on your YouTube channel, in the comments below if you don't have a social media platform of your own. For me, I'm also tagging H.L. Burke, Allie Mae Author, Matt Duar, Ari Augustine, and Avli Wrights. So all 5 of you have been tagged, and Christy Perkins. So 6 of you. The 6 of you are tagged to go do this tag. None of them have a YouTube channel, so you can go do it on your blog or whatever, or a Twitter thread or whatever. But you guys have to do this tag, please. I really want to see your answers for this, because it's such a fun tag and I worked so hard on it. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my content. I'm Corinne, also known as the Cerny Reader, and I make videos talking about the books you should be reading, so you don't have to spend hours scouring the New York Times bestseller or Goodreads list to find your next book you want to read. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!